Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Welcome into the Philly Sports Power Hour with Bill Colarulo, and a pleasant good morning to everybody on this fine Thursday, snowy Thursday in Philadelphia. We had some snow on the ground over here in southern New Jersey, but it's good to see my Power Hour crew. We are getting close. Only a few more days until those Dallas Cowboys host our Philadelphia Eagles in what I think is a must-win for our Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday night. We're going to be joined by Eagles insider Dave Spadaro today. Talk to him. I want to know, what is the vibe at the NovaCare complex right now after that San Francisco 49ers game? How are the players feeling? What's it feel like in that building? So we'll talk to Spadaro. Talk a little bit about our Sixers. Big win last night. I guess you could call it a big win. Played a really bad Washington Wizards team, barely snuck by. And then we'll turn our focus to our Philadelphia Eagles. But it's good to see my Power Hour crew. Let's get a little roll call in the chat. I saw people well before the show started already talking in the chat. I love it. Godfrey Wilson in the house. Adams Exploits. Wine Niners Wine, as always. Love that you still have the name too, man. Stick with it, brother. Bridget Tobin in the house. And for those of you who know, Bridget's my fiance. Rocking her Go Bird shirt today. Love to see that as she was walking out the door. It's Dallas week. Bowner Johnson, Travis Yoder, CZ, Brian Lippincott. Good to see everybody. But let's jump right in. And if I missed anyone, I appreciate you all here at the Power Hour. And I know some people are still strolling through from Birds 365. With Jody Mack and John McMullen, who do a great job. I'm going to be actually jumping on Birds 365 tomorrow, 9 o'clock for the second hour, as John McMullen has to do his normal Friday afternoon reporter role with Nick Sirianni. So I'll be joining tomorrow, 9 o'clock on Birds 365. But guys, real quick, let's talk about those Philadelphia 76ers. Should have dominated last night. Washington Wizards are not a good basketball team. So these Sixers, they win 131-126, but it was a sloppy game, especially defensively from the Philadelphia 76ers. But well, I guess it was to be expected. They had a lot of guys out. They had a long rest. So all these guys came back last night against Washington. They got Embiid back, Maxey back, Kelly Oubre, Nico Batum. All these guys came back. Long rest for Embiid. He hadn't played since November 27th. But he was the one bright spot last night, putting up 50 points, Joel Embiid. 50 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists. He is good, man. I know that we all worry, and I do the same. Can they get out of the second round? Can they ever win a championship? But you do have to appreciate the skill of Joel Embiid. Another 50-point game. He now has the most 40-point games by a center since 2000. And you look at the numbers, Joel Embiid's got 41 40-point games. Since 2000, Shaq and Jokic have 40 combined. This guy's a scorer, man. He's a scorer. But Kelly Oubre came back last night sloppy. He was rusty. Plays 19 minutes, puts up 12 points. But they do get the victory, but it should have been a lot bigger than that. They were 10-point favorites going into that game against a really bad Wizards team. They end up winning by 5, 131-126. Like I said, really not good defense from the Sixers last night, but chalk that up to maybe the long rest, a lot of guys being out. But we will see. And then we got our fly guys back in action tonight. Late game, 9 o'clock against the Arizona Coyotes. But, I've been saying on this show, we won't talk hockey too much, but I've been saying on this show how well coached they are and how much I like John Tortorella. And Michael Del Zotto, former defenseman for the New York Rangers, was on a podcast yesterday, and they talked to him about Tortorella. And he just threw so much praise on John Tortorella, said he's probably one of the most misunderstood guys in the NHL. Said he loves his players. All he wants to do is win. And Del Zotto went as far as saying, I wish I would have played my entire career for John Tortorella. And this is a guy, you sometimes hear from players how tough Tortorella is. So for Del Zotto to say that means a lot, man. Means a lot. I see more people checking in. William Stark, Doug Erickson, Chuck Hutton in the house. Chuck Hutton saying this show and Sports Take are the best on JAKIB. I appreciate that, Chuck. I had fun the last couple of days hosting Sports Take with Rob Ellis. Always fun talking with Rob Ellis. But let's talk about this Dallas Cowboys game because we're going to be joined by Dave Spadaro shortly. And this is a must-win game for the Philadelphia Eagles. I know it's only week 14. And I know everyone is saying, hey, well, they could still afford to lose this game and maybe still win the NFC East because you look at the Dallas Cowboys' remaining schedule, and it's not an easy schedule. After this game, the Cowboys go on the road for back-to-back games. Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins, then they come home against Detroit. That is 3 tough games for the Dallas Cowboys. So could the Philadelphia Eagles lose on Sunday night and still backdoor their way in to an NFC East title? Sure. But when I look at the psyche of this football team and a team that has Super Bowl aspirations, this is a must-win. After coming out and laying an absolute egg against the San Francisco 49ers, which we've talked about, it was a tough spot. Not making excuses for them because they should have played better than what they did. But it was a tough spot. You have to win this game. You have to bounce back in a big way against a division rival like the Dallas Cowboys and win this football game. And not only is it a must-win for their psyche, it's a must-win to have a real shot at the number 1 seed in the NFC. And we've talked about it. You look at this San Francisco 49ers remaining schedule. They could win out. Not sure they will. Anything can happen in the NFL as we've seen week after week. But the 49ers could win out. They could potentially not lose another game the rest of the season. They're home against Seattle, on the road at Arizona, home against the Ravens. That's their toughest game. Then they're at Washington, home against the Rams. They could win out. And if they win out and the Philadelphia Eagles lose only one of their remaining games, Eagles are playing on Wild Card Weekend. They're not getting a first-round bye. So in my opinion, this is a must-win. It's a must-win for their psyche. It is a must-win for the NFC number 1 seed. But as much of it being a must-win, can the Eagles go into Dallas and beat this Cowboys team? I know we all hate the Cowboys. We all keep expecting Dak Prescott to come back down to earth and make those mistakes that we have seen in previous years. But you look at what this Cowboys team is doing at home this year, and it is impressive. They're doing things that no other team has done in the NFL. Just listen to some of these stats from those Dallas Cowboys at home this year. In 6 games, they've won all 6. They have a point differential of plus 151. It is the highest point differential the Dallas Cowboys have ever had at home through 6 games since 1966. You think about those Cowboys teams with Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin and Troy Aikman. They have not had as high of a point differential as this Dallas Cowboys team has had at home this year. It's also not going to be easy because we're asking the Philadelphia Eagles to do something they haven't done since 2011, which is sweep the regular season series against the Dallas Cowboys. It's a reason why when the schedule comes out, we all do it in the offseason. Eagles schedule gets released. What do? We go down each game. We say win, loss, win, loss. Do we ever give 2 wins to the Eagles over the Cowboys? We usually say, oh, okay, they'll split. Oh, they're going to split this year. So it's not going to be easy for the Philadelphia Eagles to sweep this Cowboys team and have to do it in Dallas. And I'll give you the silver lining in a second because I see the people in the chat. Don't worry. I'm going to get there with the silver lining. But just looking at more of these stats, they've now won 14 straight games at home. I told you their point differential is their best point differential at home since 1966. But this stat really threw me. They've put up more than 30 points in all 6 home games this season. They are one of only 3 teams in NFL history to ever do that. And the other 2, the 2021 Tampa Bay Bucks and the 2007 New England Patriots. Does anybody know what the common theme between the 2021 Bucks and the 2007 Pats was? Tom Brady was the starting quarterback on those teams. So I'm not saying the Eagles can't win this game, but we all want Dak Prescott to be the Dak Prescott that we've grown to love in Philadelphia as the guy who's going to make mistakes in big moments. What he's done so far through 6 games at home this year, only Tom Brady has done. But that's why it's going to be so important for this Eagles team to come out to an early lead. We talked about that against the 49ers, but even more so this week in Dallas, because you look at all these numbers I'm giving you, Dallas has led or been tied in every single game, and they have not trailed at home since this past week in Seattle. They've come out to an early lead in every one of their games. You look at the total minutes. They've led for 234 minutes at home, been tied for only 51 minutes, and they've only trailed for 28 minutes at home. This is not an easy task to go into Dallas and beat this Cowboys team that's been really good at AT&T Stadium. Now, the silver lining before we bring on Eagles insider Dave Spadaro is, yes, look at who they have played. And look at who they have played at home this season. I agree. They have not been tested. You look at the combined records of the teams they've played at home, 26-47. Not a single team currently has a winning record that those Cowboys beat at home. So, yes, these numbers are impressive, but the silver lining is how much of that is the Cowboys and how much of that is the opponent. But I want to get Dave Spadaro's take on this, so we're going to bring in Eagles insider Dave Spadaro to the show. What's going on, Dave?
Bill, good morning. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you moving your schedule around and accommodating us on this.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
So, look, I'm ready to flush the 49ers loss. I am ready to move on to the Cowboys game. So I just want to
So it's Thursday. Jeez.
Yeah, it's Thursday already, man. I've been moving on for a couple of days, but people still are harping. And we got a lot of Niners trolls in the chat, Dave, just so you know. A lot of Niners
trolls.
I
mean, it was a tough loss, no doubt. And The Niners played a great game, and they are an outstanding football team. So they want to celebrate that. That's fine. Hopefully, the Eagles will have a chance to see the Niners again, and hopefully that game will be played at Lincoln Financial Field. That's the goal, right? To get home field advantage in the NFC playoffs.
That is definitely the goal. And, I keep reminding people, only one team gets a bye now. A couple years ago, they changed that rule. So just as important as the home field advantage is to be the one seed, we want that first round bye. That first round bye means a lot.
Oh, gosh. And it's just an opportunity to get the rest for sure. And then to have teams come through what we know is a very strong home field advantage, as we saw in 2004, 2017, 2022. Huge. So Eagles are still in the driver's seat, right? Still the best record in the NFC, and still in the midst of this very difficult portion of the schedule, 3-1 in this really long and difficult part of the schedule, and bring on the Dallas Cowboys.
But, that's the beauty of the NFL, Dave. It's a week-to-week league. 1 week we're winning the Super Bowl. The next week they want everybody fired. It's just, it's the beauty of this league.
That's what's great about it, because football inspires people and it brings out the passion in everyone. And, the one game a week cadence is perfect. And from a team standpoint, the Eagles flushed that Niners game out on Monday after reviewing the film. And, what you do is you certainly nobody's happy with that game. You look at it, you address the areas that need to be addressed, you make corrections, and then you game plan for your next opponent. In this case, the Dallas Cowboys. And Eagles certainly know they have to play a much better game than they did on Sunday.
So what's the vibe like down at the NovaCare complex?
Never changes, Bill. It never changes. It never, ever changes. It's not like when you win a big game, everybody's floating on air for 3 days. They flush it, they move, they correct, and they move on every single week. It is such a repetitive, intellectual and kind of emotional response. And that is just part of the cadence of the NFL. That is what you are taught to do. And really, just to take this off the rails here, these guys are used to this kind of lifestyle their entire professional career. And when we hear players who have difficulty in their post-career lives, it's because they don't have this kind of regimen. And you are taught where to be, when to be, how to be, and that's just the way of life. There is the only time you really, really celebrate is when you do something significant. The only time it changes is if you have a bye week the next week, or you win the NFC Championship, or you win the Super Bowl. The rest of it is honestly boom, 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 boom. It may sound foreign, but that is truly the way it is. By lunch the next day in the building, nobody's talking about the game.
Now, you've been down at that NovaCare complex for a few head coaches now. You've been with the team a long time. Is that more emphasized by Nick Sirianni, or is that something that you've seen through every coach?
Yeah, no. Andy Reid's whole thing was never be surprised. And so he wanted every day to be exactly the same. And he thought that players were best suited when they knew what was coming. And so, even before that, Ray Rhodes, although it wasn't here at the NovaCare I'm not at the NovaCare complex at the moment, but at the NovaCare complex. So it's very much the same coach to coach in that respect. Now, they run their programs differently, but the idea of bouncing back and flushing it is universal.
Yeah. And it makes a lot of sense. You just want to win that week. Don't want to get too high, too low. Jalen Hurts talks about
I'm sure in
that.
San Francisco, I know the fans are still having their fun and celebrating, but I guarantee you that the 49ers are on to their next opponent, and they understand that there's still work to be done to get where they want to go. They want to host the NFC playoffs. So that's the goal for the Eagles, for the Cowboys, for the 49ers.
Hold on. I got in the chat here, Dave. Let's see. So New Jersey Fishing Maniac is making vodka sauce right now. So the meatballs sit for 7 hours. Go Birds. You a big fan of the vodka sauce, Dave?
Love the vodka sauce. Love the meatballs. So I'm a big fan of. Who's that? What was the name there?
NJ Fishing Maniac.
Okay, yeah. Go for it. Let marinate, and don't celebrate. Just let it sit and then enjoy later.
Spadaro. That's a Paisan name, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's been like a
Palermo, Sicily, Palermo in the boot. Yeah, long, yeah, second generation American. So my grandparents were born in Italy, and so I am very, very much in the same category that you are.
Yeah, my family is Sicilian as well. I had the luxury of being able to visit them back in '07. I studied abroad in Rome and then made my way down to Sicily to visit some family.
Nice.
That was a great experience for sure.
Nice.
So, yeah, we've been having a lot of paisans on. We had Farzetta. We've been talking about, obviously, Dom DeSandro. We've been talking about John Tortorella, Nick Sirianni.
There you go. And what is the common denominator? Vowels at the end of the name. So if anybody's doubting how to identify an Italian, your best bet is vowel at the end of the name.
Yeah, that's always the tell. That is always the tell. Well, look, I have people in the chat asking me to ask you about Big Dom. I'm ready to move on, guys.
I'm not talking about Dom.
Same. I don't want to talk about it. It's a non-story.
It's not a funny thing. It's not a joke. We're all supporting Dom, and we all love Dom, and that's all I'll say about Dom.
He does an outstanding job down there. So I'm ready to move on as well, guys. Sorry about that, but we're not going to talk about it. So one of the new faces in the building, Dave, Shaq Leonard. Have you had an opportunity to meet him?
He met the media yesterday and, had spent Tuesday at the complex trying to get a crash course on the defense. I don't think it will be that difficult for him to pick up the verbiage. It's really not ever going to be the scheme. It's going to be the checks and how the Eagles audible off things, and then understanding the language of the defense. But, somebody who's been in the league as long as he is should not be a huge transition. Hopeful that Zach Cunningham can contribute this week. We'll see. Big practice day today for the Eagles, but getting Shaq helps the linebacker core. And I'm not sure I don't know what happened in Indianapolis. I don't know what his physical condition is. I don't know what drawbacks there are. I know the positives of Shaquille Leonard is that he is a great contributor, a great leader, a great playmaker, and that's what the Eagles need on this defense.
And the one thing that has me excited and less concerned about the injury history is Sirianni's relationship with not only the Indianapolis Colts organization, but now Shane Steichen there. And you heard Sirianni talking about how they were able to FaceTime with a bunch of the coaching staff over there. They were able to get on with Shaq Leonard. So how much does that go to them really being able to evaluate Shaq Leonard as a player and from a health perspective?
You really have to do your due diligence. You have to kind of look into every corner. And the fact that there is a great relationship with the coaching staff helps. I'm sure that there were honest exchanges. I'm sure that the Eagles have a realistic understanding of what Shaquille can bring to this defense that we will start to see hopefully on Sunday night. And I don't pretend like he's coming in here to transform the defense. I don't know and maybe he will. I don't know what to expect, but the coaches certainly and the players have a much better understanding when they see Shaq on the practice field, when they know what he can do in the classroom, how quickly he absorbs the verbiage of the defense, the nuances of the defense, what Sean Desai wants in terms of checks and audibles, movements, things. So look, they're going against a really tough offense. There's a lot to cram in here. It's a super turbocharged offense that has won 14 straight games at home. You just outlined that, and notwithstanding their opponents, because I don't think that goes into the equation. They are fast. They are efficient. They are putting up a lot of points. Eagles defense is not about Shaq Leonard this week. It's about the entire group coming together and playing better.
Let's talk about that defensive group for a second, because one area they've really struggled, and in fact are bottom of the NFL, is third down defense. What are you seeing? Why can't they get off the field on third down as effectively as I'm sure they would like?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and I wish I had the answer. And it is something that they're working on. And clearly, if you can't get off the field, you're going to have troubles. And what's odd is that some of these have been third and long, and that means they've done a good job on first and second down, and they're giving up big plays. And we've detailed throughout the season the injuries in the secondary. That's not an excuse. The Eagles are as healthy. Look, last week they didn't have Zach Cunningham, so that was a loss for sure. But by and large, the secondary was fairly healthy and still had some problems. So I give the Niners credit because I think Kyle Shanahan and that group with that talent, I mean, they looked great last week. They looked like a team clicking on all cylinders, but it's a season-long situation here. And, you got to get to the quarterback. You got to do a good job on first and second down. You've got to be tighter in coverage. You've got to tackle better. I think Sean Desai really accepted a lot of responsibility in his press conference the other day. So, I mean, it's a collective thing, Bill. It's not one. You can't say it's one thing or, hey, this is how we correct it here. Everybody needs to come together, scheme better, coach better, play better, tackle better, be more physical. All of it is required for this Eagles defense to get off the field on Sunday night against a team that, look, they know they played them a month ago. They know what Dallas is going to do. They know that they're going to get the ball out of Dak Prescott's hands quickly. They know CeeDee Lamb is going to be a big part of what Dak is doing. They know that Dak is really dangerous when he scrambles. They know that, that running game, they stopped the running game last time. That was a big part of things. They made stops in the red zone, 2 stops in the red zone, which really provided the difference in the game. Eagles have to do the same thing on Sunday night.
And Dallas's third down offense, second in the NFL. So definitely a big test this week.
Huge test. It's a huge test. I mean, I'm arguably like the Cowboys are they're the best offense in the league right now. So when you look at Dallas's offense, you don't see specific areas that you attack that you say they're weaknesses, because they don't have apparent weaknesses. So the Eagles have to create weaknesses on Sunday.
Let me ask you this, Dave, and I don't want this to sound like an excuse, but it's just reality. Philadelphia Eagles, short rest going up against the Buffalo Bills. The Eagles, they had a 6 or 7 day break going up against the Niners. Niners had 10-day.
Yep.
Now the Philadelphia Eagles again going up against a team, 10-day rest. So it's 3 games in a row now where the opponent has a longer rest than the Philadelphia Eagles. Is that something that the organization mentions to the NFL? Like, hey, when you're making the schedule, it's a little bit unfair.
Yeah, I don't know, Bill. I don't think that that's an excuse. And I think that you really just generally don't rely on excuses. And I mean, there might be other quirks in the schedule that point to the Eagles' favor. I think that, look, it's just go out and play the games. And I think that for decades, that's kind of been the mentality of this football team. Go out and play the game. Go out and win the game. Don't make excuses. After the fact, do you mention it? I don't know. Possibly. I don't know. I'm not privy to those kind of conversations. I just don't like to use that as a reason for a loss like on Sunday. I mean, had the Eagles won the game, would anybody be complaining about this schedule, apparent leaning toward the opponents? I don't think so. So I don't like to make excuses. Just go out and play the games. It certainly, I will say this, I certainly do think it does make a difference. I think having that little mini bye week does give teams an added couple days of rest. I think having Dallas play every single season at home on Thanksgiving and then playing a week after at home on Thursday night gives them an advantage. But they, I think, play, a few games in a row on the road at the end of the season. So, I think the NFL tries to do a really great job of balancing it all out. And I don't think anybody's out to get the Philadelphia Eagles.
No, they definitely have a tough job, the schedule makers. And I'll tell you what, I am grateful that this year they put the Philadelphia Eagles on Christmas Day and not Christmas Eve again, because you being a fellow Paisan, they tried to ruin our 7 fishes on Christmas Eve, man.
That's right. That's right.
So I'd much rather have it on Christmas Day.
And that's nice that the Eagles are home Thanksgiving weekend, home Christmas. So is that an advantage for the Eagles? I mean, they get the extra day rest for that game. Like I guess so. You look at things all over, and then you get a short week, the week going into the finale, or the next to finale, the New Year's Eve game. So. Yeah, I think you just play them. You just play them. You don't worry about that. I never look like at the schedule and go, this team's weak, that team's weak. This is strong. Just go play the games and win the games.
All right, we're getting some crazy questions in the chat, Dave.
Go ahead, bring them on.
Oh, not that one. So Wine Niners Wine wants to know, does Dave have an Eagles tattoo?
I have the Roman numerals of Super Bowl 52 on my left python here.
Awesome. So hopefully you're going to be getting another tattoo soon, Dave.
Yeah, I was ready to do it last year too, man.
Man, that's
and by the way, I whined like a little bitch. I'm not into pain, so I don't know how all you guys who have a lot of ink, I don't know all the ink you have. I don't know how you do it. I was like, my kids were with me; they're grown kids. They were getting tattoos. They've got some tattoos. I was like holding like the bear in the tattoo shop. I was like, Jesus, who the hell wants to get a tattoo? This hurts.
I have one. I have my kids' names here on my chest, and I was surprised how much it hurt, Dave.
Yeah,
it really does.
Not into that. I mean, I have a high tolerance for pain, but like not that kind of pain. Not like needles. I don't like needles.
Now, I still think though the tattoo would be less painful than when one of the best leaders ever on this Philadelphia Eagles team, in my opinion, Malcolm Jenkins, has the brand on his arm. That must have been painful, man.
Well, that's a fraternity thing. So, you don't have a choice on that one. I'm sure you're ready to go. I'm sure you are lubed up and ready to take that pain.
You just reminded me something I wanted to ask you about. So I had Seth Joyner on the show earlier this week, and I asked him about Eric Allen finally getting nominated again. Well, not finally getting nominated.
Yeah, he's been there for a million years.
Yeah, getting nominated again. Let's hope finally getting in to the Hall of Fame. Seth Joyner says he thinks it's ridiculous he's still not in. You in agreement?
Yeah, I mean, I think Eric was a great cornerback in this league. I think he's a victim of and by the way, he was a spectacular player with the interception returns for touchdowns. I mean, it wasn't like he was a quiet, great cornerback. He was a big play, great cornerback. Unfortunately, we're so far down the line here in terms of the number of times he's been a semifinalist. What are there, 25 left now, I think? Is it 25 or 50 now? It's 25, right?
It's 25.
Yeah, I think it's 25. I'm not sure. And also, you look at the class that he's in, and there's a lot of big names in this class. I think Eric deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I think it's going to be very difficult for him to get there.
Yeah, he definitely deserves it. And you mentioned all those interceptions returned for touchdowns. Was tied for the NFL record until a Dallas Cowboy this season, Deron Bland, broke the record on Thanksgiving Day. But we saw Deron Bland get a little bit taken advantage of by the Seattle Seahawks in their last game on Thursday night. If you're the Philadelphia Eagles, what are you doing? You staying away from Deron Bland, or you going after him?
If I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm running my offense, and I'm looking to be efficient and at my very best. And it's not hey, let's run the ball. It's run the offense and run it well. And we've seen when this offense is operating at its highest level that it is a devastatingly good offense. Having Dallas Goedert back will help. Understanding what Dallas is trying to do defensively certainly helps. A fast turf is going to help. Like, I just think you don't go in there and say, run the ball, take the clock, take time off the clock, keep away. Just go score points. Had the Eagles scored 2 touchdowns in the first 2 drives on Sunday, maybe things would have been different. Instead, the drive stalled. They kicked field goals. San Francisco's offense came to life in the second quarter. And there's just so much that goes into it. Again, the Eagles had scored 12 straight possessions in the red zone touchdowns. They were 5th in the NFL in red zone possession, in red zone efficiency, touchdown efficiency, heading into San Francisco. Struggle on those first 2 possessions changes the entire nature of the football game. So to me, just run your offense and run it really well. And as Jalen Hurts said yesterday, it's all about executing. And, we can say, go after that guy or go after that guy. The Eagles will identify areas that they think that they can attack, and then they'll go attack those areas. And it will then come down to execution and blocking and protecting for Jalen, and Jalen being on his game, and the receivers and the running backs and moving the chains and scoring touchdowns. And I mean, it is imperative that the Eagles offense from this point forward gets into a 60-minute high level of offense. It's really kind of going to me, determine just how far this team goes.
And they're going to have to put up points this weekend, because I think you saw while you were in the waiting room to come on, I was going over some of these stats that this Dallas Cowboys team has been able to put up at home. And they put up 30 or more points in all 6 home games, and they're the only 3rd NFL team to do that, joining the Tom Brady 2021 Tampa Bay Bucks and the 2007 New England Patriots. And you just look at their numbers at home and on, you mentioned that artificial turf versus on grass, and they're like a different team, man, at home with how good they are on offense. Are they that good? Should this Philadelphia Eagles defense be expecting this Cowboys offense? I know they played them already, but they're a different team at home.
But this is a terrific offense, and they've got weapons everywhere. They've got a strong offensive line, Dak is playing at probably his highest level. Yeah, Eagles have to be great on defense. And so you got to win up front. You got to be really good in coverage. You've got to look. CD Lamb has been as good a receiver as anybody in the NFL this year. The Eagles certainly are aware of the damage that he has done against them both last December on Christmas Eve and then 1 month ago. He is a big playmaker. He's no longer, to me, a second-tier wide receiver in the league. He is a top-tier receiver. But they have other players along the line, and they fit him into the roles really well. Turpin has a role. Cooks is coming on. I guess Gallup is really the only one who hasn't stepped up in a big way this year. Their tight ends are productive. So, big challenge for the Eagles defense.
Yeah, Ferguson, the tight ends, had a good game last in week 9 and through 3 games, 12 catches, 155, 2 TDs. So they do have a pretty good offense. But look, we talked about third down. We talked about red zone. In week 9, even though the Cowboys put up yardage, Philadelphia Eagles defense did a good job on third down and in the red zone. Although they haven't been great this season, they held them to 60% in the red zone, only 40% on third down, and they were able to get after Dak. 5 sacks in that game. You expect this Eagles D-line to be able to get pressure on Sunday night?
Yeah, I mean, the question I have is, will the Cowboys allow that to happen? Will they give Dak the 5 and 7 step drops? Is he going to get rid of the football quickly to negate what the Eagles do? We saw what San Francisco did. Get the ball out of Purdy's hands quickly after those first 2 possessions. Don't give the Eagles defensive line an opportunity to impact the San Francisco offense. So, that to me is the chess match. How do the Cowboys approach the Eagles? Look, we all know that when the Eagles defensive line gets it going, devastating. And the entire defense, as we saw against Tampa Bay and we saw against the Rams, 2 really great, against Miami to a degree for much of that game. But if you don't give the Eagles defensive line a chance, then it's really incumbent that everybody else, like, you got to get up to the line of scrimmage, you got to make tackles, you've got to all run to the football. So it's a great question. Yeah, I think the Niners, again, if it's a copycat league, provided a bit of a playbook for others. And we saw Washington do it. Attack the middle of the field, get rid of the football quickly. Kansas City does it. Get rid of the football quickly, attack the middle of the field. So what do the Eagles do to negate that on Sunday night? It's going to take a total team effort, great coaching performance, because I think everybody has a true look. I know we all dislike the Cowboys intensely, okay? But there is respect for what they do offensively, and the Eagles defense is very aware of that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Dave, before I let you run out the door, we still got a couple of days until Sunday, so we got to kill some time at night. There's a Thursday night football game on tonight, but I'm kind of in my Christmas movie kick now as we lead up to the Christmas holiday. What's Dave Spadaro's go-to Christmas movie?
I'm not sure if I have a go-to, but yesterday I was asked for my 5 favorites. So I'll give you my 5 favorite in no particular order. It's a Wonderful Life, great message.
Great movie.
Elf, I like. I mean, a friend of mine, not that I'm name dropping, but my buddy David Berenbaum wrote that movie, and it's just a great movie. It's fun. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, I think, is a message to all of us, and that Christmas is a time to be kind to people, to love. And A Christmas Carol is the old. We've seen a zillion versions of Scrooge. A Christmas Carol, the old ones. Alistair Sims, I really love those. I mean, I love Charles Dickens, so I thought it was great. And then A Christmas Story with Ralphie is something that when I think back of my childhood, my parents who are deceased, we would sit around and watch that movie, and my dad would just laugh his ass off, and particularly at the father who, was screaming when the HVAC system was breaking down. I mean, just everything about that movie makes me laugh. And so when I watch that, I think of my family, my youth, my kids, all of it. So those are my 5. My wife loves all of Home Alone, so we love that. We love 4 Christmases, a hysterical kind of movie. So there's a bunch of them, Bill. I enjoy watching them. My wife and I are in the mood to watch a lot of Christmas movies and be in the Christmas spirit. And I just think we don't get much time to celebrate Christmas when you work in the NFL because we don't get days off. But the Christmas spirit is something that everyone should embrace. I try to do it all the time. But I certainly love what Christmas is all about and what it represents. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Happy Holidays to everyone, always.
Awesome, Dave. Well, I appreciate you making time for us. Hopefully we'll have you on next week talking about a big win against those boys.
And what one more thing do you want from me there, Bill?
One more thing, as always.
Okay. Go Birds!
My man. Dave Spadaro, always fun when our Eagles insider joins the show. I didn't get a chance to ask him if Die Hard is a Christmas movie, man. That is a big debate. I haven't seen Die Hard in a while. I got to find out from Bridget if she's ever seen it. Maybe we'll watch Die Hard as we're on our Christmas movie kick these days. But guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll talk a little bit more about the Cowboys and the Eagles. And then, as always, we'll do our Today in Sports History. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
We're here to show you a better way to spend your state income taxes and get the money to where it's needed the most to the thousands of qualified kids.
What we like about Blocks is they really know where the need is.
This program ensures that their dollars come 100% into these kids for their tuition assistance.
If you are able, Blocks makes the EITC piece go very quickly and very smoothly.
Turn your PA state tax liability into need-based scholarships and receive a 90% tax credit.
Underdog Fantasy has a way for you to play alongside your favorite football team all season long with their Fantasy Pick'em game. You pick between 2 to 5 players, select whether they'll go higher or lower on one of their stats, then do what you usually do on a Sunday, watch the games. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. It's a fantasy game, and the Sports Betting Show wants you to get involved. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. When you sign up, use the promo code WIN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back in to the Philly Sports Power Hour with Bill Colarulo. Just had Eagles insider Dave Spadaro on the show talking about his favorite Christmas movies, and I see everybody going nuts in the chat about Christmas movies. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? I'm going to watch that again and then give you my opinion, because it's been too long since I've seen Die Hard to give you a opinion on that. I know that's a big debate, so let me watch it. Let me get back to you, and then we'll end this debate about whether or not Die Hard can be considered a Christmas movie or not. But we just had the Thanksgiving holiday, and there's a movie I watch every Thanksgiving that is just a classic, one of my favorite movies of all time. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. If you're in the chat, let me know if you've seen it. Let me know if you still love it. Great movie. I see Mario Corsero saying Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Great, great movie. Steve Martin, John Candy. Phenomenal. It's a classic. I watch it every year on Thanksgiving. So definitely should watch that. If you guys haven't seen Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, do yourselves a favor. It is a great movie. All right, but it is Dallas week. We got more things to talk about than just movies on this show. This is the Philly Sports Power Hour, so we got to get some sports in. But you talk about this Dallas Cowboys offense, and I was giving you all the stats at home before we had Dave join the show. And look, I don't want you to think I'm scared, okay? That's not what this is. But we have to acknowledge how good this Cowboys offense is. And on the flip side of that, how bad the Eagles defense has been. And it wasn't just against the San Francisco 49ers. That wasn't just one game. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles defense over the last 5 games. They're giving up 29 points per game, 435 yards per game, 300 passing yards, and 4.8 yards per carry. And that's the one that really bothers me. Because the one thing we could hang our hat on with this defense this whole season has been, well, at least they're still good against the run. But they haven't been. 4.8 yards per carry over the last 5 games, way too much. And I got these, I may have given you guys these stats yesterday, but this is from Reuben Frank. They're only the 5th team ever in NFL history to give up 2,000 yards, 1,500 passing yards, 15 passing touchdowns, and 4.8 yards per carry through a 5-game stretch. 5th team ever. So what we are seeing from this Eagles defense, not just against the 49ers, has been historically bad. And you're going up against a Dallas Cowboys defense. A Dallas Cowboys offense that is really good. We know how good their defense is. And let's jump over to the Dallas Cowboys defense then. Not only is this Cowboys offense a top 5 offense, they're a top 3 defense. This is a good team. I know they haven't played anybody. I know they haven't beaten a team that currently has a winning record. But we certainly can't underestimate these Cowboys. And you heard me and Dave talking about Deron Bland, corner for the Dallas Cowboys, who now holds the NFL record for the most interceptions returned for a touchdown. And he also has 8 interceptions this year, leads the league. So the question is, how do you play against a corner like Deron Bland? A guy who is a ball hawk, who every single pass is a risk for him to intercept and take back to the house. Well, how do you play a guy like that? And I want to see the Philadelphia Eagles go right after him. Go right at Deron Bland. We saw the Seattle Seahawks do that on Thursday night, last Thursday, and they exposed Deron Bland. Just listen to some of these numbers. Deron Bland was targeted 12 times in that Seattle Seahawks game. He gave up 8 catches, 169 yards, and 2 touchdowns. An average yards per catch of 21.1. Because it's all feast or famine with Deron Bland. Because you know what else he did on those 12 targets? He had an interception too. So you got to make sure you protect the football, but you can certainly take advantage of Deron Bland. And I see in the chat, someone mentioned doing double moves. William Stark, double move him. 1,000% William Stark. When you got a guy like Deron Bland who's trying to jump every single route, double move him. What I'd love to see Brian Johnson do, and I know we've had our complaints about Brian Johnson, now's the time to offensive coordinate. That's what a coordinator does. It's not just all about calling plays. It's about structuring your offense and calling the plays in a way to set up things later in the game. So what they need to do against DaRon Bland is run a couple of plays that look the same. Have your receiver run a couple slants or a couple out patterns, a couple curl routes. Run it a couple times. Make it look the same. And then the moment you get DaRon Bland thinking he knows what's coming, that's when Jalen does a little pump fake, double move, touchdown. Take advantage of DaRon Bland. Now, you're going to have to protect the ball. He's going to get an opportunity. If you go after him, you're going to give him opportunities to pick it off. You got to do a good job of protecting the football. But use his aggressiveness against him. I'd love to see that double move. Would love to see them do what Seattle did against them boys. And Seattle didn't have a great offense coming in. They had only put up 400 yards against the Washington Commanders and the Carolina Panthers. And they put up over 400 yards against Dallas. So let's hope this Philadelphia Eagles offensive coaching staff is going to be able to look at that tape, learn some things. Because you look at the Seattle Seahawks offense and you compare it to this Philadelphia Eagles offense, shouldn't even be close in terms of skill. And we'll see it next week when the Eagles go to Seattle. But just look at what Seattle did. Over 400 yards. Geno Smith, over 300 yards passing. Let's look at their skill players versus ours. You taking Geno Smith or Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts every day of the week. You going with DeAndre Swift at running back? Or Charbonnet, the young rookie? Looks good, but I'm taking DeAndre Swift. Receiving core, not bad. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith-Njigba, really good. Getting a little bit older. And that's why I'm giving the nod to the Philadelphia Eagles, at least the first two wide receivers. I'm taking AJ over DK at this point in their career. I'm taking Devontae over Tyler Lockett at this point in their career. I'd rather have Jackson Smith-Njigba, if I'm being honest, as my wide receiver 3 over Quez Watkins. But I think we have the better skill players. And let's hope we get another skill player back this week in Dallas Goedert. And we didn't get a chance to talk about the injury report that came out. Now, this was an estimated injury report, but really good news. Dallas Goedert was a full participant yesterday, which looks like he is on track to play on Sunday night against the Dallas Cowboys. And that is big. It's big for the passing game. It's big for the running game. You need Dallas Goedert in this game. And sticking with the injury report, another player they need on the other side of the football is Zach Cunningham. And you heard Spadaro talk about it a little bit. We'll see what happens today with him getting on the field. But I would love to see this week against the Dallas Cowboys and that high-powered offense, Zach Cunningham and Shaq Leonard as your starting linebackers. Let's see what we have in those two players. And I'm praying. I'm not expecting it, but I'm praying for it, that Shaq Leonard can get close to the guy he was before those back surgeries. Because if Shaq Leonard can even be 75% of what he was when he was a first-team All-Pro, that is going to have a massive impact on the defense. Against the run, in pass coverage, everything. Communication. Now, that was one thing that you've heard a little bit. You've heard a little bit coming out of the NovaCare complex from the locker room, from these Eagles players. Sean Desai mentioned a little bit yesterday. Was there a little bit of an issue with communication on the defensive side of the football on Sunday? That's something that needs to be corrected. Now, I would have given them a pass a few weeks ago when you had Blankenship coming back from injury. You had Kevin Byard just got here. There's no excuse for them having issues with communication on Sunday against the San Francisco 49ers. So you bring in a guy like Shaq Leonard, who's got a lot of experience, was a captain for the Indianapolis Colts. Let's hope that's going to have a big impact on the defensive side of the ball because they need it, man. I gave you those numbers. You look at where they rank in the NFL, and they're in the bottom of a lot of categories. This defense needs to show us on Sunday night against the Dallas Cowboys that they are a championship caliber defense. And if you follow this show, this isn't just me talking because of one game against the 49ers. I asked this question 2 weeks ago if this Eagles defense was good enough to win us a Super Bowl. Well, they're a different defense now. I know it's only one player, but we have to hope that Shaq Leonard can make a big impact. So we will see, guys. But tomorrow on our Football Friday, no guest tomorrow. It's going to be me for a full hour, and all we're going to do is break down this Philadelphia Eagles-Dallas Cowboys game. We'll get our predictions in tomorrow. So make sure you're back here tomorrow, 10 o'clock, for the Philly Sports Power Hour. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I will be covering for John McMullen in the second hour of Birds 365 at 9 o'clock. So be on Birds 365 at 9, and then we'll go right into the Power Hour from 10 to 11, talking Cowboys week. Doesn't get much better. Does not get much better. This is why we're fans, man, for stuff like this. But before we end the show, like we do every single day with a little Today in Sports History, today's a little bit of baseball. Some two big things happened. December 7th in baseball history. December 7th, 1937, the Boston Red Sox acquired the contract to 19-year-old Ted Williams. He went on to have a decent career, don't you think? 19-time All-Star, member of the Hall of Fame, one of the best Major League Baseball players to ever do it, Ted Williams. Well, today, in 1937, Red Sox acquired his rights. And then in 1939, 2 years later, December 7th, 1939, Lou Gehrig, at 36 years old, was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, passed away about a year later. But today, in history, 1939 was when Lou Gehrig, Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. Guys, appreciate every single one of you. Go ahead and hit that like button. Hit that share button. And I tell you every single day, make sure you head on over to Legal Hands to the Face on Instagram, at Legal Hands to the Face. We post daily content multiple times a day, and it's all Philadelphia Eagles all the time, man. So go over, give me a like, give me a follow, send me some DMs, engage. Let me know if there's things you want to talk about on the show. But I appreciate my Power Hour crew. Everyone have a great day. See you guys tomorrow. And as always, go Birds.
Go for the polls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.